Planting flowers on the 2-4 weekend has to be the most coordinated event to take place across the country. Bigger even than the start of the hockey season. It rivals Christmas shopping. It's like a huge celebration that winter is finally over. It sure brightens up the urban landscape. It's like everyone painting their garage door on the same weekend. There's nothing like springtime in the garden when everything's sprouting anew. I love to see my reliable old perennials coming into bloom. Plants like geum, troilus, the globe flower, peonies especially, and the little pasque flower. Little beauties flowering every spring. I can always count on them. One of the plants I don't worry about is my good old fern leaf peony. Although the leaves appear fern-like and look so delicate, this plant is as tough as old garden boots. It shrugs off winter, sprouts leaves and pops up its petals while other plants are still sleeping. Real name is Peony tenuifolium, and it doesn't resemble any other peony. It flowers much earlier than other peonies. The stems poke up looking like old shaving brushes, then form a neat bushy mound as much as 45 centimeters across. This one is a burgundy red, and it's called Plino. If it has a downside, it's a pricey plant compared to other peonies, and it does tend to fade out in summer heat, but it's such a delightful specimen plant and easy to grow. Plant in full sun, average to moist soil, and it will become an annual reward for surviving winter. This peony here is one of my tree peonies. Unlike the regular peonies, it maintains its wood-like stems over winter, whereas the regular peony dies down to the ground in fall. This is the peony that's familiar to most people, the one that you have to have hoops around to help hold them up because the blossoms are so big they tend to flop over, especially after a rain. And as you can see, we have an ant on the buds here already. Now, it used to be believed that ants were there to help the buds open, but it really is just an old tale. They're looking for nectar. That's all they're there for. This little beauty is pasque flower, or pulsatilla. There are about 33 species of these herbaceous perennials native to meadows and prairies of North America, Europe and Asia. What's interesting about this little plant is the showy part of the flower consists of sepals. That's the usually green protective parts that are around the bud. They're not the petals that are in color. This bright little plant is Troilus europaeus, and it's probably one of the oldest plants in my garden, at least 20 years old. It's rather like a robust buttercup, and it's native to Europe and Western Asia. The yellow buds open to bright lemon yellow bowl-shaped blossoms. It's a spring-blooming species that often reblooms in fall. As the spring flowering bulbs begin to fade in the garden, one of the first long-blooming perennials to appear is my friend Mrs. Bradshaw, or Geum chilense. The species originated in Chile and was brought to Europe in 1826 when Mr. Bradshaw brought it home. George Whiteleg, the family gardener, noted an exceptional one in a box of plants that he'd been given, and no doubt thought it would be a propitious move to name it after his boss, or rather his boss's wife, hence Mrs. Bradshaw. Geum are trouble-free plants, rarely bothered by pests or disease, and bloom well into summer. They don't produce a mass of flowers, they just pop out occasionally on tall, wavy stems. And these are my lovely flowering onions. Actually, they're not onions. They're in the same family, though. These are allium, and they come in all shapes and sizes. Some have blooms almost 6 inches across. They really stand out in the garden. If there is a drawback to alliums, it's the foliage. It tends to dry back and go yellow before the flowers have even finished blooming. But they die down pretty quickly, and they're absorbed into the mass of the flower bed. When it comes to spring planting, I do tend to be bold, gambling like I'm at a casino where no one loses. As for the garden, there's a big question mark lurking in the shrubbery. Although the average last frost date is May 11, we can get frost sometimes in June. I'm always prepared, however, to either rush around the garden covering everything with blankets, pots and barbecue covers, or maybe replant everything a week later. Any questions? Email me at garden@gto.net. I'm David Hobson for therecord.com.